people. Twitch. Twitch is what has to catch on that we're streaming. Do 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 do. There we are. Good. We're streaming. So I'm gonna do more hair today. I'm not gonna log back into Unity. Hold on. Let me print out some stuff here. I'm streaming game dev, or more specifically, hair dev. Paste. And then I'll go over to Mastodon and post it there too. Alright, so the heater is on in the background. You can probably hear it. So what I was going to say is I'm probably not going to log back into Unity until next year because it really pissed me off. I've heard some people claim that it might not be... I might have a special Unity problem where my Unity is specifically screwing up. But it's things like enums not working. So if that's the case, I would be very interested to hear about this strange new bug. Either way, that's going to have to wait until next year. Over Christmas break, I'm probably going to be doing development in Godot to try and figure that out and make sure that I can use that. I don't think that I'll be back into Unity until January. So, you know, if you're here for Unity specifically, it's going to be mostly hair until next year. Come on, deselect. Oh, that was weird. Somehow the sun got selected. I don't want the sun selected. There we are. Just the hair. Hair. And I guess we have to deselect the... There. And what we'll do is we will... Do we have a non-mesh still stuck in here somewhere? A non-curve? Oh, yeah, of course, the skull cap. Sorry. Come on. There we go. So the point I'm trying to make is that... God damn it, this is so annoying. I should use layers. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that there are lots of things I'm going to do, and none of them are related to Unity. I have to learn how to do hair anyway, so I might as well learn how to do hair now. I'm probably going to be downloading 2.8, Blender 2.8, before next session, giving that a shot, and then trying to do some more normal alpha hair rather than this toon hair in 2.8. But I don't really know yet. We'll have to find out. So why is this not working? These are all... Oh, do I have to have one specifically? Yeah, there we are. So we're going to go ahead and put them into a merged mesh here. And that'll give us just one mesh that is all of the hair. And then we can just merge that into the parent mesh, like so. And you can see that we now have... ooh, it looks like it is... Let's go ahead and apply the rotation and the scale. And then here... Oh, this is mirrored. That's what the issue is. So we're going to apply the mirror. And then we will just join them up. Boom, there we go. So that is now a single mesh with a separate mesh for tying it together. Now the only problem with this mesh is that it is quite large. It's 20,000 faces, which is 40,000 tries, which is more than we want. But decimating it is relatively straightforward. We can just go ahead and stick a decimate in. And then just... Now the problem with doing this is it doesn't make it nice and triangular. When you decimate like this, it goes into n-gon state, and you can see some of the n-goniness down here. Which unfortunately means that if you want to see what it's actually going to be like, you have to put the triangulate on after that. So in the end, you don't get all of the savings that you would hope to get. Here you can see that if we turn this off, we're not actually getting it down to 0.6. We are only saving... We're actually not saving anything. If anything, it's getting bigger. Well, no, that's because it is getting bigger. That's interesting. I wonder if there is something about this which isn't pulling it out right. Either way, the point wasn't to make the best hair possible. The point is to learn how to make hair. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to go with the card-based solution. That is a typical solution that I expect to use a lot. So I'll have to learn how to do that again. I used to do it in Maya. Never really done it in Blender, and Blender is not known for being great at hair. So what kind of hair should we make today? I think we should make something short. We made a couple of long things. Let's do some kind of short on the sides and medium length on top sort of thing. And to do that, we'll just have to hide away this old stuff and then create a new bevel curve and then get going. So we're going to want this beveled, come on. We're going to want this beveled curve to, first off, rotate Z45. That's not correct at all. There we are. Bring it up. Perfect. Bring it back. And then what we actually want is, oh, god darn it. Unfortunately for us, it automatically sets some of these values. There we go. Now we can edit it. And then what we'll do is we'll set this to taper to this here. That'll give us a moderate taper. And then we can just edit the bevel and create ourselves some hair. Obviously, a triangular hair is not the best option here. So what we'll do is we'll just make it something that's a little bit more understandable. Now we need it to have some curve in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to just subdivide this. Boom. And then what we'll do is we'll bring this down, and we'll bring this down and in. And that should give us a reasonable hair. Yeah, that's probably okay. Subsurface modifiers turned on, so that should be fine. It's a little too tall. Not a whole lot too tall, just a little bit. So we're going to actually just drag this up. There we go. And lastly, we need to actually finish the modifier. Boop, and then move this because these are warping the shape of the hair in ways that don't make sense. We're going to need a new material. Boop, or rather an existing material. Hair. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves some basic toon hair. So we're going to go ahead and just do some basic sweeping across the top hair. And that means that we're going to need to have this be substantially larger, like this. That still might be a little too small. That's probably about right. Don't know if the bevel is complicated enough to actually support this, but we'll know soon. I can always make the bevel more complicated. So if we just rotate it... Okay, so rotate this. And then we can bring it up. And bring it down. And then scale it up. I think it's probably too big. Just bring it over. No, I think that's probably okay, actually. Unfortunately, if I do it like this, it's going to end up looking like someone from the 40s with... remember that the scene in Back to the Future where you see what's-his-face's dad? It's going to look like that kind of haircut if I'm not careful. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit more... floopy. Give it a little bit of adventure rather than being so straight and flat. I'm sure those are legitimate terms that every hairdresser uses. Floopy and flat. And adventurous. Yeah, this hair needs to be much more aggressively beveled. It's not beveled enough. So... Rick Metalstar says, hello. Hello, Rick Metalstar. Hi, there we are. Hello, I'm making hair. It's not going to be very exciting, but if you enjoy watching people model hair, then that might be the right thing for you to stick around for. Right now what we're doing is we're just trying to make a very basic haircut, because I've got some longer haircuts and it's time for me to create some shorter haircuts. So that's what we're going to do. And we're just going to make it so that they all end up looking reasonable. But I'm not sure about this haircut. I think maybe I need to look up haircuts. Give me a moment here. I have forgotten the name of this haircut. You know what? I think I know what the problem is here. Don't randomly pop up YouTube videos. The problem is that I'm used to doing these with hair cards, and so I've got completely the wrong kind of idea of how this is supposed to look, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to have this work using this particular kind of setup. I might have to try something else, something a little bit different. But let's go ahead and make it first, and then we can try it and see what happens. This is really I don't like the way this is starting to look. It's starting to look really dumb, which, I mean, par for the course with my skills, but nope, that's not it. There it is. So what we're trying to do here is create a layered look, but I don't know whether this is the right choice, and that's sort of what I was thinking about and trying to figure out. It may very well be that it's not a good look for it to be layered in quite this way. We will find out in a moment. Rick Metalster says, enjoy your videos on game and level design. Looking for level design tips on making an open world desert map and found the videos. Super interesting, so here I am checking out the live streams. The live streams are substantially less interesting. If you're looking for deserts, the one I actually made a video specifically about a game that did deserts in a way I liked. I'm trying to remember the name of the game, but that might be the one you're talking about. It's the indie game with the really low poly features. If that is what you're talking about, then that's the one that I recommend. If you haven't seen that one yet, I can probably look it up. Apparently that was the one you watched. Yep, good. And of course I've got lots of videos about things like Fallout 4's level design and stuff like that. It's all fun stuff. But if you're looking for desert, there's a couple different kinds of desert. And one of the kinds of deserts that I haven't covered is the rocky deserts, where you have the kind of the plateauy flat tops and then the sharp edges. And those are gorgeous, and I haven't made any videos about them. They don't show up in games very much. So what was I doing? I was creating a subdivision. Boom. Because I think what I need to do is create a Superman curl in order to make this work. So we're going to try and do that. We're going to go ahead and give ourselves a Superman curl. To try and make it feel a little bit like, a little bit less like there's something really dumb happening here. So what we've got is a curve that's not really doing us any favors. So we'll just edit this curve. Bring this down to 0 here, but we're going to make it super sharp. There we go. That's a little bit better. Not great, but a little bit better. And I think I can push this like a lot more than I currently am. Let's go ahead and do exactly that. And it's rising up off of the skull a fair amount, and that's kind of the point. If anything, I want it to be even more aggressive. Can I get that? Yeah, I guess that's probably okay. So that's a Superman curl-esque. Let's go ahead and continue on backwards and see whether or not we can get it to look good with this kind of format instead of the other, which was a little bit too primitive. So now as we move back, we want the hair to have less of an aggressive curl to it and be more about filling in the space correctly and flowing in the correct direction, which this is not too bad. The problem, of course, being that we're going to need more hair, and that's when we have to start thinking about the best way to put in more hair, because we need a lot of hair. Yep. Alright, so this is toon hair, as I've said before, meaning that we don't have any alpha blend capabilities. I'm going to be making alpha blend hair next week, probably on Wednesday, or Saturday rather, and that way, you know, you'll get to see both kinds. But toon hair is a very different beast with very different requirements, so I'm still figuring it out, trying to get how it working. I think that this can be pushed back. That is not a great bend. I will have to hide it. Wow, that's really awful. Why is it doing that? I guess that'll do. We'll have to do it like that. Rick Metalmaster says, or Metalster says, Desert indie game video, very insightful regarding the Shallow Valley trick. Have you seen a lot of Mad Max game level design? It's desert-ish with lots of rocks. I loved it. I haven't played the Mad Max games because I don't really play games that are just fighting anymore. It doesn't appeal to me anymore. So I usually only play games that have adventuring or building or things because I'm getting old and tired of punching people. But I can just do a quick little search. Mad Max level design. Or level. We'll just say level. And then we'll look at an image. And it'll pull up pictures of Mad Max rather than any of the levels, of course. If you haven't watched my video on... there you are. If you haven't watched my video on Brutal Legend, that's also got a lot of tips about that kind of level in it. So, you know, it can be worth watching that as well if you are curious about that kind of thing. So here what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing the size of these down now, and we'll just edit the bevel and just bring it down. The only problem with this is that this hair is still got a subsurface modifier attached. So what we actually need to do is get rid of that subsurface modifier, which is fairly straightforward. Or where is it? Do these not have subsurface modifiers? Is that what the problem here is? Is that why it looks so terrible? Oh, it is. Okay. So apparently I forgot to turn on subsurface modifiers. It's no biggie. Just turn them on manually. Because that'll make it have a little bit of striation to the hair. I was wondering why it felt so flat today. That was why. And this, what we're going to want to do is pull it up a little bit. Give it a little bit more body. push that down below the first one. There we go. Now the question is, so I've got it kind of parted here. There's a couple of different, there's 1,000 different haircuts with this basic style to them. When the part is this position, it usually means that there is hair on the other side. If we pulled the part over to say here, then it would be just the top all combed over in that direction, and probably buzz cuts on the sides. Which is a nice haircut too, but it's not the one that we chose to make today, so I think we're going to go ahead and flop on over to the other side. Kerflopped. I don't think we're going to need this middle one. Goodbye. I think this might still look pretty 50s. What if I give it a little bit of... how about the other way? This is very much a 50s haircut. I tried to make it less 50s and it didn't work out. It is extremely 50s. Well, let's go ahead and just start to make it look like we made it 50s on purpose, I guess. This is why the #1 piece of advice when you're doing hair is to actually have pictures of the haircut you're trying for, and I didn't do that, which was probably dumb. I should probably just start over now, rather than wasting everybody's time on a 50s haircut. Hair's looking good, Rick Metalster says. So Rick Metalster likes the 50s. Noted. Come on, there we are. I guess we'll have to disguise that later on. This was the one that was having trouble. I remember that. And then this one, we can probably pull it up and force it to be a little bit more aggressively covering that gap. Yeah, there we are. And it looks like it's punching through though, so let's just take that down just a touch. We'll put some more stuff to hide the various pieces that aren't quite working right. But, you know. So this one we're going to go ahead and get rid of the subsurface modifier. And that'll simplify it, and we'll use it for the back of the head. Yoink. Got some kind of bowl cut thing going on now. So you can see that we've got a lot of pop through here. That's always going to be an issue when you're building hair in this fashion, and it's always going to be a struggle to try and get it to look right. But you don't have to get it to look right in one pass. We can always go back and edit this stuff and I'll be adding in plenty of decorative pieces, and that will help to, fill it in. Yeah, this looks like crap. Okay, so let's pull up some pictures of hair. And what I'll do is I'll just delete all of these. Goodbye. Farewell. Kaboom. Chicka, chicka. Kaboom. The problem is that looking up men's haircuts is very hard because they don't have names. They just exist in another region of generic guys with generic haircuts. It looks like what's in this year is a short side cut. I guess that's pretty common, but unfortunately it's really hard to do this kind of cut with Toon hair. This kind of short cut is exactly what alpha hair is best at, because you get a lot of these flyaway elements that give it depth. If you have short men's hair, not short men, but men's short hair, tuning it up is really, really hard because you've got all the parts where the hair is done. It's short, so it's like a field of sticky uppy hair bits, and you can't do that with a mesh. At least I can't. So I'm looking for like a men's medium length cut, and all I'm getting is like Fabio, which is not really what I want. I guess we'll go with this guy. There we are, this guy. It's not really the haircut I want, but it's the only haircut I could find which was long enough that I'll be able to do Toon elements on it. If it's any shorter than this, then it requires flyaways, and I don't have that capability with the system I'm using right now. At least, I don't think I do. Rick Metalster says that the last haircut fell apart. Yep, it certainly did. Well, I put that on the page here as if I was going to let you see it, but I'm going to actually put it on the other monitor so that I can see it, even if you can't. And then we'll get to that. We'll just make that hair instead. And to be honest, Toon hair, this approach, it's been really good to me when it comes to creating really long hair. It's really good at long hair because it's a mesh solution, and that's fairly solid. But it's not been very good to me about short hair, and that's maybe just because I'm too used to making short hair using flyaways. Oh, well, there's also curly hair to consider. Let's go ahead and try and make something curly. So take this out. Curly haircuts. No, these are like super curly. I'm not looking for... there's some curly haircuts. The problem is that there is a lot of different kinds of curly. There are, in fact, like 7, I think. And all of these are in the very curly bracket. I guess I want wavy haircut. That's a little bit more like it. All right. Now, these are all pretty long, though. I kind of want a medium length one. I guess we got some like really, really old school haircuts popping up on the dash here. Shall we try a really old school haircut? I did some 50s guy look a second ago. I suppose I could do some 50s girl look now. Look, curly hair in a really, really old school appearance. Well, maybe I'll try it. Because really all I want to do is see if I can get... See, that's not really curly, though. It's wavy. Which makes sense because I looked for wavy hair. Let's go ahead and wing it. Jojo Jet came back. Hello, Jojo Jet. We are making hair for the foreseeable future. All right, so we're going to try some curly hair techniques, and I think that what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just try it in the most basic fashion, which involves subdividing here. So tools, subdivide, and we're going to need to subdivide one more time. Actually, we could just extrude. There we go. And the idea here is we're going to do a medium length wavy or curly haircut, see if we can get one to work, because this does have the ability to twist these meshes, and basically I want to see how good that feels when we twist these, because you know there's a lot of different math answers as to how it can look, and so basically, if you hit Control-T, you can see how it twists, but you can just select one of them, and then if you do that, you see how you can twist it all the way around. For some reason, it's not twisting. Twist. There we are. Twist, twist, twist! Like that. Now, the only problem with this approach is that it requires us to have the bottom of the hair be decorated, so let's go ahead and do that. Rick Metalster says that I should just do the 50s haircut with a buzz. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to do, but I would need to move the part over further. It was too far on the top of the head. It would have been like a very, very close to a mohawk haircut if I had did a buzz on the side from that particular hairstyle, which maybe would have been a good idea, I suppose, but it's not something I thought of, and now it's too late. Where's the subdivide? There we are. Alright, so now what we've got is curly hair, but of course this curly hair is not curly in a way that looks natural. It gets really, really kinked at the end, and it's not very curly in the middle. But we can sort of curl it here as well, or we can just delete that and see if we can get this to work using good old-fashioned brute force. I mean, who doesn't like good old-fashioned brute force? It's looking a little bit like Aerith at this point. Let's see if we can get a few more twists in there. There we go. The weird thing about this twist command is that it doesn't work using the normal sideways approach, where normally if you're trying to add math into the equation, you can just move the mouse in the same direction for a long, long time. It'll just go up and up and up and up and up. But with the twist command, you have to actually move it in circles. It's really unnatural. Rick Metalster is talking about hair, and that's good. And Jojo Jet's like, I'm really digging this art style. That's good to hear. I'm not at all sure that it's going to be possible for me to keep it, is the problem. Because the art style doesn't have any alpha transparency in it, which means that it's really, really difficult to get it to look good without wasting a ton of resources and giving you like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of polys extra. Come on. Twist. 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 Oh, it's this line. I got it now. I got it. So if I twist it the other way, and then I can pull this... Oop, that's the wrong direction. There we go. I think that that'll be a little bit... Is that a more natural feel? I think it actually might be less natural. They both feel a little bit unnatural. So you can see here, if I put this close, then the hair goes into the skull. Don't think there's really any reason to avoid that, because what we'll do is we'll hide it with additional hair later on. But there is one thing I want to get rid of, and that is how it intersects with the cheek. I'd like the curling to not hit the cheek. So either I can curl more aggressively or less aggressively, but I don't want that curl. Come on, come on, move. There we are. I don't want that curl on the cheek. What I'll do is I will give it... can I do this without... I guess I'll just push it. There we are. Alright, so that is one piece of hair. Let's go ahead and try and make the rest of this work out, shall we? And we'll just try and rotate this to be a little bit more in line with what we're looking for. And of course, as we move back, we're going to want to take into account the fact that the hair has different kinds of curl rates at different lengths, and we're going to want to take advantage of the curly nature of the hair to give ourselves some nice complicated ends, some spray with the hair elements. Ooh, that didn't end up at all like what I thought it would. Just so you get for looking at it for too much on one specific angle. But you can see how now this hair is kind of overlapping rather badly on itself. What we're going to want to do is try and make that not happen. So to some extent this stuff is unavoidable, but what I'd like to do is make sure that it's something I can repair. Maybe twisting it the other direction is better here. Yeah, you know what? I think that might be a better approach. I think that's one too many twists. There we go. Now that it's twisting the other direction, rather than colliding with the hair, it slips under the hair. See that? Yeah, that's definitely better. Which means that we should copy the first hair again, because we'll want to twist the opposite direction again, which is the first direction. And then we'll just pull it. Come on, pull it. I think that's a little bit too much twist. There, that's more like what I'd like. Pull it in. This one's going to require some cleanup strands in order to try and keep track of it, but I think that one of the issues we've got is simply that we're not giving it enough body. Because wavy or curly hair has a lot more body than people give it credit for. So that's what we'll do. We'll just punch up the body a tiny bit. Okay, it seems like this hair is a little bit silly, but that's fine. Just duplicate this, pull it back, and then we'll just bring it into alignment with what we need. I guess we'll do that this way first, and pull it back. So this is going to be where the hair starts to turn and go down the back of the head. It's going to be shorter on the back than in the front because that's what the picture is like when I looked up the picture. So I guess we'll stick to that. It looks like this is twisted upside down. There we are. So we're going to have to do a lot of fill elements back here. In fact, the whole hair is going to require a lot of fill elements. We might as well do that before things get too complicated. So let's duplicate this hair, and turn it into some fill elements. So we'll just take off the subdivision surface and try and get these elements to look like curly hair while behaving in such a way that they disguise the skull and make it look like this hair has body, but without actually making it too large to handle. You know what? I think maybe it only needs... No, it does need two. This one just needs to be real close to the top one, though. So this gives us a really sharp set of curves that ends up damaging the mesh pretty badly. But I think we can deal with that if we bring these two elements into alignment. Yeah, there we go. Rick Metalster is still stuck on the old haircut, but I've deleted it, man. I agree that there were ways we could have made that haircut suck a lot less. Unfortunately, we didn't do any of them. And that's the problem with live streaming, you know? You end up doing stuff that is not what people actually would like, or is different than what you would normally do. And that's fine. I just got to make sure that... There we are, like this. This is way too big. There we are. So even though it's way up there, in actuality it needs to be down here, because we're talking about the hair on the back of the head first. But I think the hair at the bottom here, we'll just go with a single control point. Yeah, so actually what I'm thinking about for this sort of toon hair is creating it in segments and then allowing it to be added together with different kinds of parameters. So I wouldn't be just saying like sides of head, top of head, stuff like that, because the areas that you get that get involved in, you know, what's the side, what's the top, those always change depending on the haircut. But what I can do is I can create haircuts and then have blend shapes or submeshes that change and go away. And I think that that's perfectly possible and quite straightforward. So I will be creating the hair with the idea that you will want to, you know, set hair up as a punk version or whatever else, rather than just going with whatever the default is. Because the whole point is there's no reason to have one-off hair. I don't want, you know, 8 styles and everybody shares those same 8 styles. It's not unique enough. It's not interesting enough. It doesn't serve the needs of the game very well. Let's move that. It's kind of in the way. Jojo Jet says, have you tried looking at Sims 4 as a reference? That has a similar style to Blender Curves. So the real problem with Sims 4 is that you have to buy it and it costs like $1 billion. It's actually apparently 75% off right now, which seems unlikely. Because the part that is expensive isn't the base game. It is the add-ons, which are like $60 each. So I keep meaning to try it out, but I never get a chance. I've looked into how they do bodies. They do bodies really, really fun. And when I say bodies, I'm including clothes. They have a lot of really, really nice clothes modifiers using cage deforms and specifically placed loop cuts that lets you do things like combine it with different heights of boots and stuff. It's really cool. I'm not doing bodies, so I'm not going to follow that up in the same way. But you're right. they have the same kind of hair that I'm doing right now, which is a little bit of a surprise. I thought they were using, I guess I never looked that closely, but I don't know what their short haircuts look like, because according to these pictures I'm seeing, they've only got long haircuts. Let's take a look here. Sims for hair. Images. Long, 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 long. I mean, even the ones where it's short like the guy I showed you a while ago, where it's quote unquote short. No like buzz cuts or anything. They definitely do have the capability to do alpha hair. Either that or someone put in like a million polys, because there is definitely some hair that is. I mean, if we take a look here, for example, this hair is clearly not the way I'm doing it, but most of the default hair is. So when I find that there are some short haircuts, they're not really very short, and they're almost certainly alpha blended. These are clearly alpha. This is the sort of hair that I would do in Maya, where you've got an alpha applied to a flyaway card, and that's what these are. I'm not seeing any stock hair that's short. I wonder if there is a stock buzz cut. Well, I mean, there's a buzz cut, something slightly longer than just a texture on the head. Alright, so the closest I can find is this guy. And if we take a look, what he's got is he's got a crap ton of these blunt shapes that I've been using. So I could make hair like this, but it would be really high poly. And I guess that's what I've been trying to avoid. There's also no advantage to it. If I'm going to be creating it like that, I might as well be using flyaway cards and alpha cards, because it would be lightweight in comparison. JojoJet says I should just get Create-A-Sim, which is free. Yeah, I didn't actually realize that there was a free Create-A-Sim thing. I really just wish that they would let me buy like the whole game for less than $1 million. It's amazing how expensive it is. I guess if I just wanted the hair, I could probably just get the most basic of the base game stuff and then just, you know, use that, because I don't need any of the play if I'm just looking up the hair. So you can see what we're doing here is we're trying to build up curly hair locks, but we've got this giant amount of see-through area everywhere we look. Now, the normal way to do this is to build up curly hair base shapes and then add flyaway cards. And I think that's still the best option. I think my experiment in trying to get the hair curly like this is not going to work out. It requires too many strands. It would end up being, you know, a 90,000 face haircut, which is too expensive. So we're going to go ahead and delete it. Let's try for another haircut. Let's this time just do something that's got buzzed on the side. So it's similar to what we did in the very first try, but we're going to put it off into the right side of the head so that it's not weird looking. And of course, we're going to have to edit that bevel. Yoink. That didn't work. There we go. Oh, I subdivision surfaced the bevel, didn't I? Here we are. Rick Metalster says, why not a plain mesh with texture for the parts behind the curves, the curlies? Yeah, that's exactly what I'll do. When I do it with using flyaway cards, you use a body block and then you use flyaway cards for the curly elements, and it works great. But if I'm doing that, there's no reason to do it using this toon style, because the toon style takes a whole lot more polygons per strand. So it would be a lot of effort and it would be more expensive. So it makes more sense for me to do it using something with alpha transparency. That's what we'll be doing next week on Saturday. We'll be using Blender 2.8 and I'll be trying to get alpha blending to work there, and then we'll get hair in Blender 2.8. And in theory, that should work fine. All right, let's get that Superman curl going again. That might be a little bit too low. Now that's body. It may look like too much, and that's probably because it is. So let's pull it in a little bit so it's a little bit less hilarious. And we'll just bring this down a touch. That's probably fine. Now the problem is, I don't think that this is correctly doing its subdivisions. I guess it is. Okay. Alright, so this time, let's pull this over. Oh, you can see how we've got a really, really nasty bit of chatter. Let's see if I can get that chatter under control. Yeah. Close enough. Alright, so let's delete this and recopy this. Alright, so we're just going to do the same thing, but of course we don't need it to be quite as aggressive, because we are fading it out. I'm sure that's technical terminology I heard in some place somewhere. Although I think a fade is more about... Well, actually I have no idea. It's better for me not to just make stuff up. Yeah, I think that's actually not... it's actually pushed too far forward. So we're going to just pull this back. And then this here, we're also going to pull this one. Come on, pull this one back. And we'll fill in underneath this with more elements. But I don't like this bump. This bump is awful. Stop being a bump. Why is there a bump? I think it might be because of this guy. Yeah. Shwoopoo. If we twist, we can bring that under control, maybe? No. That's better. I don't think we need all of them this time. I think we can get away with a smaller number of control points now that we are going towards the back here. we're going to have to hide some of this nonsense. The only question is, I don't actually know how this stuff looks in the back. I've never had this haircut. And I don't really know if it looks... how it's combed back there. And unfortunately, I don't know the name of this haircut, so I can't look it up on Google. I think we can assume it just kind of starts to go straight down after this. Sounds like the shadow is visiting me. Remember that old movie where they used the bus squealing brakes sound effect for his superpowers? Brilliant choice. I think if we add a second layer, this will actually look fine. Let's go ahead and try it. So what we're going to do for the second layer is we're not going to subdivide it, and that should make it so it's a little bit less gorily expensive. And then what we'll do is we'll just, for now, try just duplicating and moving. And then we'll come back and we'll edit the second layer. Well, we'll go ahead and edit a little bit as we go, because it's a little bit not in the right spot. But it's just a matter of making sure it doesn't look too bad. Nope, that's the wrong one. There we are. Too much body. There we go. That's a little better. And let's go ahead and put in just a little bit more where it needs to be. I don't think we need all 3 control points for this. Let's just punch it up. I don't think you need to be over there either. Pull it over here. Yeah, there we are. This is a little bit too close to the skull. Rick Metalster says, shouldn't there be hair coming out from here? You know, you might be right. I don't really know. But I'll tell you what I do know. I didn't do it that way. So we're going to see how it looks the way I did it. And then we can try and figure out if there's a better way to do it. Yoink. I have a feeling I didn't add enough body to the hair when I first created it. Well, of all of the problems we could have, that one is a pretty easy fix. Thank goodness for non-destructive hair editing. Yeah, so the back of the head really doesn't sell me at all. Let's go ahead and take a look. What's it called? Hold on, let me pull up a... There we are. Let's go ahead and search. do. Google doesn't know anything. No, that's not a bob. That's like a guy named Bob. That's not the same haircut. I don't know how it looks. Back of head haircut. Now, I guess it just kind of depends on what you want to do with it. I mean, a lot of people do have a haircut that radiates outwards from the back. And then you could either comb it up and around, or you can just have this stuff come down over it. There does definitely, I mean, that is sort of the center point of hair, but hair can be combed. Unfortunately, this haircut isn't one that I know how to look up, so I'm stuck trying to look up similar haircuts. I guess this is close to something called a high fade, although that's a different style up front. It's combed back instead of forward. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what hair is. What's hair? Yeah, so a lot of people do have a little curly thing in this particular spot, but a lot of people don't. Maybe I should just search for mohawk back of head, because that'll be like the most aggressive example you can find. Yeah, these people all just comb it straight back. There's no... The center point of the back of the head there is not even noticeable when you style it like this. Although it is not like this ever. So I think I need to redo it. I like how I specifically type in back of head and I get like 10,000 things that don't have the back of the head involved. People are talking about the swirly thing on the back of the head. I don't think it's a matter of whether you have it or not. I think it's a matter of whether or not your hair can be combed across it or not. Because I think it all depends on how stiff your hair is, rather than if it exists. Let's go ahead and delete this back. Oop, no, that's like skeletons. I don't want to delete that part. I should really start working on layers, but apparently I am too lazy. Alright, so if we assume that this is how it looks that far, then this is the point where you have the cowlick. So we can either incorporate the cowlick or move across it, but either way, it's not going to come across like this without hair gel. It's going to come down. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and bring our hair down. I don't think I need to do the full set. Oh, that wasn't right. There we are. Oh, it's nowhere near the... It's easier to adjust the hair when the main point is close to the origin of the object. Otherwise, it's something that's kind of hard because I'm kind of adjusting hair beneath other hair, and it's hard to see. And I think the official advice is don't do that. But, you know, we're wild rebels. So I can already tell that this is looking more realistic, but it definitely isn't as good as it could be. Looking more realistic doesn't mean it looks realistic. It just means it looks not quite as stupid. And to be honest, I think that's probably okay for a haircut that's only on the top of the head and isn't, you know, doesn't have like an actual combed back part back here. Just gonna put in one more piece for the last little curl, and then we'll do some decorations. Shrink it down and turn off the subsurface. This is the one that Rick Metalstar is complaining about here, and I think you're probably right. Let's go ahead and just delete it. So when we delete it, you can see what we've got going on underneath. Let's go ahead and see if we can extend these, and then we'll put another decorative element on top. Now, the reason I just deleted the one on top is because generally you want to model the lower elements first, and then the upper elements can get put on afterwards. And that's just what I'm doing here. I'm going to remodel the lower part, and then I'll put the top back on. Yeah, there we are. So now we're going to put on another piece of the top, and it's just going to hide. This one doesn't need a subsurface modifier. Goodbye. This one does, though. It's just going to hide the damage that we've done to the underside of the hair by curling across the top of it. Looks like we're going to need to do two. That's fine. So, if we bring this one forward a little bit, we can have it like that, which actually feels pretty decent. This piece of hair here is now in the way. We'll just delete it. And let's just massage this so that it's the right slope. That's about right. And then we'll just create one last piece of hair and see if we can get this one to work, and maybe put in another underhair element up here so that it feels a little bit more natural. So in case you guys are wondering, the whole point of this is that I don't know how to do hair, and this is me learning. So if you're wondering why everything is so slow and dull, that's why. Alright, so can we bring this into... No, it's gonna go over the top if we're not. So let's... pop this up. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then what we'll do is we'll duplicate this. delete the subsurface and put it back. Alright, so that is a patch of hair. Let's go ahead and decorate it. Needs a couple of pieces to hide some of the egregious errors. So that's what we'll do. We'll just duplicate one of these, delete the modifier. Now, I believe that we have been using a bevel that is fairly high density. Yeah, we have been. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete some of that density away to make it so that it is simple enough that it doesn't cost us too much. And the other thing we're going to do is just scale it way down, because we don't need it nearly as big. There we go. And then when I bring it up, I can move it into position and have it cover some part of the head that needs to be covered, like this. Mifaz says it's starting to look pretty stylish. Well, I'm not a very good judge of hair. My point here is I'm trying to learn how to do it, and I think that this looks like hair that someone might actually have. Not me, but someone. We're going to need another decoration. We're going to shrink this down even further, and we're going to hide the front of the hair a little bit here. Pop it up, bring it around. And we're just going to be using this to decorate some of the elements that need a little bit more deliberate decoration, especially since this is a haircut that is going to be seen from the front more often than anywhere else. From the, slightly above and from the front, because that's the direction that the camera is pointed in my game. So they'll be looking at this hair from like here, here, not from back here very often. But that doesn't give us any excuses to not put in anything, so let's go ahead and I think we can pull this down. I think we're going to need another one, so let's undo that pull down. And we'll just duplicate this and move it here. And then this will be the one that is pulled down. Not quite enough. And let's just pull this around. There we go. And it looks like we've hidden most of the flaws in the front of the hair. There are still some flaws in the back here, so let's go ahead and just cover them too. Why not? And I think that what we'll do is drag this back and up. And basically, we want to avoid having this clip through here visible, and we'll do that by simply having another piece of hair on top of it. I think that is a little bit too high. There we go. And then here too. We're starting to get towards the back of the head though, so we're going to want to have this get swept back. Way too high. Is this upside down? No. And then one last one to hide this exact spot here. And that one we're not going to need 2 control points. We're only going to need 1. 2. Well, we're not going to need 3 control points. We're only going to need 2. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. That's the ticket. There we go. If we can just pull that across a little bit more like that, that's pretty much how I want it to look. And there you go. There you have it. A generic updo. Right, that's not an updo. What do you call it? I guess you call it a fade. You know, it's a thing with the sides cut off. I guess the fade isn't cut off like this. I don't know. I don't know hair. If I knew what this haircut was, I could have looked up a picture of it and done it in a quarter of the time. But let's just adjust this a little bit more. There we are. That's a little bit better. Alright, so that is today's stream. We created 1 haircut and 2 things that did not turn out to be haircuts. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll be back on Saturday where we will be delving into Blender 2.8 and trying to figure out how to use alpha masks, which I will hopefully have figured out before I start the stream, but you never know. I'm going to take some pictures and then some screenshots, I guess, and then we will stop. So let me know if you have any questions before I finish, because we're just going to quickly take some basic screenshots. I guess we'll want to use the material rather than the... No? Solid? I guess solid is our best bet given the nature of the hair, because I've got the wrong shaders for the skin otherwise. There we go. Made some haircuts. All right. Well, wasn't that exciting? Rick Metalster says, do you plan on looking at the Mad Max game? So I don't plan to play the Mad Max game. I hear it's quite long, and it's mostly just combat, and that doesn't really sound very interesting to me. I'm more likely to play Fallout 76, although I'm not at all interested in that. At least it has crafting. Like building stuff, not like improving your car. Mifaz says that he doesn't like the workflow of 2.8. Well, I haven't tried it yet, but if the workflow is no good, then I won't be able to use it, because the whole reason I'm adopting it is the improved workflow over 2.7. 2.7 does not allow for the quick placement or adjustment of flyaway cards, making it very difficult to make hair. So if 2.8 doesn't have better, more easy adjustments, then I won't be using it. At least I won't be using it in preference over 2.7. So hopefully it'll click with me, even if it didn't quite click with Mifaz. And I'll see you folks on Saturday if you want to come back. Have a good one.